What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we return with September Mourning after almost 2 years. Can't believe it's been that long.
God, it's been 2 years, really? Wow. It's good to talk to you, Alex.
Yes, since that show at Revolution with A Smile Empty Soul. Rest in peace to that venue, too.
Oh, yeah, that venue's gone. A lot of venues are kind of gone now, huh?
It sucks. It sucks. But new ones will rise from the ashes, or at least I'm trying to be somewhat optimistic.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but the last time we spoke, it was kind of like a general interview just on September Mourning and everything like that, but we finally got some new music in the work. With the new singles, Wake the Dead and Kill This Love, is that maybe like a clear representation on the direction that September Mourning is going into post Volume 2?
That is definitely the direction. Of course, we had Volume 3 that came out, which was a little bit more... kind of like had a little bit more pop edge to it and had a little bit more urban flow to it. And then this time for Volume 4, we're going back to a little bit of a heady sort of like feeling with the music and kind of loving it.
Yeah. Is there kind of like maybe a preconceived idea? Because being that, the presentation of September Mourning, everything is tied together. Do you almost consider this just like a sequel or picking up where you left off from before? Or is it almost in a way also like a new beginning for September Mourning in a way?
Well, it all kind of follows the storyline. So it's always kind of like a sequel, right? It's always kind of like the next chapter of the movie or whatever, So I look at it kind of like that.
Okay, so for people who may just be getting on board with September Mourning and people who are just like, kind of getting into you, like, do you feel like every album is almost kind of like Lord of the Rings? Like, do you feel that people should begin with Melancholia and then like follow upward into Volume 2 and, everything and following that?
Melancholia was basically just a bunch of demos just to like kind of like see what's going on, So it doesn't really, to me, the story kind of started with when the books came out, and like they kind of like reached fruition. I'd say 2012 with Volume 1, and then it's continued from there.
Okay.
So yeah.
So. I might like just to get, because I'm amping up for this. This is definitely one of the releases I'm looking forward to the most for 2021. And
thank you, man. I appreciate that. We appreciate that so much.
Yeah, anytime. And like, I kind of want to go back and listen to the previous stuff just to like get in touch with the story in a way. So, but is it fair to say that also it's never too late for a listener to get on board if Volume 4 happens to be the first experience they have with September Mourning? It's not like they're missing something in a way?
No, see, the thing about September Mourning is, of course, it revolves around the story and all this sort of stuff, right? But but also every single piece of it also can be, subjugated to its own sort of like piece. So the music, if you don't like the comic books, you can just listen to the music. If you don't like the music, you can just read the comic books. If you can, everything is kind of like subdivided into its own sort of like thing. So that being said, if you need to like per se catch up, you're not really catching up. You can follow along anywhere you come in on it.
And that's always unique, and I believe I touched upon this before, but like obviously, a story determines the lyrics, and obviously, your stage presentation and who you portray on stage. But there's been a lot of bands that have had kind of like stories that revolve. I think the most famous example would be My Chemical Romance. I mean, they always
the Black Parade, yeah, for sure.
And is there a specific reason why the style of music that you play that I think caters a lot to metal fans? Like I know Typo Negative fans who are loving this music, but I also know like a lot of more mainstream sort of rock fans who are appreciating this. Is there a specific reason why you feel that the type of music that you play best supports the story in a way as well?
I think that I think if you go back and you listen through Volume 1 through now, what we've done, these 2 releases on volume 4. If you listen to it, you can see the ebb and the flow and the push and the pull, and it all kind of like revolves around the emotional like context of the story. So, sometimes it's heavier because of, we're going into these fight scenes, we're going into this massive battle, and then sometimes it's lighter because it's like more of a lighthearted part of the story. So, it ebbs and flows kind of like that. So I guess yes.
Yeah, and I mean, and not to discredit the vocals by any stretch of the means, but I do feel that the music instrumentally also, like, in a way conveys a narrative as well. Like, I think that everything works super well together, but I also think that the instrumentation, it's not just lyrics over the song telling the story. I feel like everything has to work together.
Yeah, it does. It kind of, it like I said, it can all work together, and it also, these songs are not, if you look at like Khalid and Cambria, which I love Khalid, love that band. But, I also like see that their stuff is very particular to the story, whereas like the lyrics are just kind of like written like, I get the knife, I stab the person, it's like very particular what are in the lyrics. For me, I tend to write like with the emotional turmoil of like what's going on with the character, but I'm not super specific like with everything, so that if you want to take the context of the narrative and apply it to your life or what you're going through, you can always do that. And I think that helps a lot of people, because people like to relate, right? They like to internalize and relate in their own lives with art. And I think that's it's a very good thing with this.
Yeah, definitely. And do you almost feel that maybe like you have a personal relationship to this character? Like, is there maybe ever room for maybe your personal experiences or your personal life involved in September Mourning? Or do you kind of use September Mourning as kind of like a way to distance yourself from who you are personally?
No, I mean, there's tons of like me in September Mourning. I think that September Mourning is like me magnified, like the little parts of me like totally magnified and put like a superhero on it, like sort of like the supernatural element combined with the magnification of different facets of my personality, and that's what you've got.
Yeah, so it's fair to say that like you have, so can people maybe get an understanding of who you personally are, which I don't know if you want me saying what your real name is on the course of this interview, but like if people want to get to know,
yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, if people want to get to know who you personally are, do you feel like the music does a good enough job at conveying that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think in a way, I mean, it's probably not going to be 100% like exactly, but they'll get a reflection of definitely who I am. There's definitely a lot. I mean, there's a lot. This whole story, September Mourning was actually created because I lost a friend on a September morning, actually, to a drug overdose. And I lost him. He was 26 years old, and it was like probably one of the hardest things that I've went through in my life, because I was just kind of like at this point where I'm just like, why him? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why him? And so I wrote this story, and I came up with a concept, and I came up with a narrative, and I came up with the world, basically to kind of heal myself. So so saying that this is not a part of me is totally untrue. It's totally falsified, because like this whole world was created because of him and because of what I went through. And so there's always a facet of me within everything I do.
Forgive me if this question is a little too personal, but do you almost feel that like maybe that starting this project has almost brought closure into it, or maybe
100%, yeah, 100%.
Which is it's always great when, like, I mean, obviously there's no denying it's the harsh truth of it all, but like tragedy is always like the greatest fuel for creativity. So
100%, I agree with that.
And it's interesting how you were able to kind of not just start a band that I think has great music that relates to people, but you almost created like a whole other world. Like, you didn't just create an extension, but you almost created like a direct escape that I think is both very literal and very metaphorical.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like I wanted that escape, right? I was like kind of, at that point, I was a little sick of living in the reality of the world, so I wanted to create this place, and it was a place where good souls could get second chances at life, and who doesn't want to start over, right?
Absolutely.
Everybody in their life has had a time where they've been like, I want to start over. I just want to clean this slate and start over. And I felt that many times in my life.
And there's no denying, like, I've heard artists say, and it's the greatest lie, and I've been guilty of it too, that, like, I'm not influenced by the world. The world, my art is my escape from reality, and I don't think about life or whatever. But there's no denying, the world is going to influence you one way or another. There's no denying it. It's subconscious.
Yeah. No, of course. It's definitely going to do that.
Yeah. And I'm really glad that you were able to bring closure into this. Being though that, like, a very dark place is what started September Mourning. Has the making of albums and even songs later in your career, has it come from a different emotional place in a way?
I mean, I've worked on other projects and other songs for different people, and it definitely comes from different places. But like I said, everything is like, even if it's just a small piece of me, it's still a piece of me. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, I think that, like, when you're an artist, that's just how it is. That's how it is, and it comes like that. And it's very hard to do art outside of who you are. I think that's like a whole different type of thing. I mean, I guess that's how acting is, but even acting, there's still you're going inside, and you're uncovering these parts of yourself and dusting them off that you probably haven't used or seen or felt for a while, and you're bringing them out through a character. So I think that, like, all art is subjugated to who the person is.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can misconstrue September Mourning into thinking that you are portraying just a character and that it is an act and it has just a theatrical presence. But as somebody who has spoken to you and who has been invested into the music, it is almost, again, like, there is an almost external metaphor that surrounds the band in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I get why people would be like, oh, it's an act, and I get that. But, like, if they do the deep dive and they listen to the interviews, and like you said, you've talked to me, you've spoken to me, and most people that have understand, like, where the inspiration's coming from.
Yeah. And do you almost feel like, has this time of isolation, because this is a time where everybody almost wants a second chance in life, or even just an escape from this crippling reality that we're in, has the turn that the world has taken maybe also influenced the new music in the works?
Yeah, of course, definitely. I mean, it's like, we're all kind of like, we've been isolated for a while now, and especially if you're single, it's probably been really hard, because you don't have just a partner to go through this with. You have to go through it alone, and that's been hard. But for me, it's been almost a gift, because it's allowed me to tap into other parts of my emotional core and other parts of my artistic core, and use those parts of myself to generate different types of art, different forms of art, learn about different things. And just learning is such a great part of life. It's such a beautiful part of life, is learning new things. And so I'm grateful for the time to do that, because usually when I'm on tour, 6 to 8 months of a year, and then making a record the other time, like, I don't have a lot of time to explore outside of my genre. So.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, too, I almost feel like a lot of the music that you have written has even had more context in the wake of this. Like Skin and Bones, I don't analyze those lyrics the same anymore after being alone in isolation and for
Right.
so long. It almost seems like that song almost lyrically predicted the future. And I think Before the Fall almost kind of represents the year 2019 or the early months of 2020.
Yeah, I think it there's different parts of those songs that really do kind of like hit home when we go into something like this. I agree with you 100%. I didn't write them, of course, knowing that, but speaking about it now, 100% it does.
And do you think that with September Mourning, being that you started this all from a painful place, did that instantly kind of create the vision of who September Mourning is, like who we see on stage? Like that was the first vision of who came when you first started this band, or did kind of like the idea of September Mourning have to like develop over a span of time?
It developed. I mean, I started like, putting it together in 2009. Like that was like when I started actually putting everything, the pieces together. And it took a couple of years to form the storyline, to get the costuming correct, to figure out how it was all going to form, and then present it to the world. 2012, 2013, and then finally in 2014 with an album and an actual touring, like consistent touring in 2014. That was kind of like where I figure it took all that time to really get it to the place where it was presentable.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely a labor of love for a long period of time, because it is a transmedia project. It's not just a band. It's like, it's the story and these characters and the costuming and the animation and the voiceover work and there's so much that went into this. And that takes a lot of time, especially back then. There wasn't, there weren't all these platforms to tell stories on. There were some, but there weren't, it wasn't as broad as we have now.
Yeah.
So it was a lot harder to do it all in one shot. Looking back on it, I kind of wish I just stayed out of the public eye until it was all ready to drop, and then boom, just drop it all. But sometimes you need to put it out there and learn, and so coulda, woulda, shoulda, I guess.
Yeah. I have you ever played a show outside of character, picture kind of an apples and oranges scenario, but Guar has a parody band called Rog where they just play unmasked.
No, I haven't done that with September Mourning yet. I don't think it's that type of a thing. I don't think it'll ever be that type of a thing.
Yeah.
So.
You can never picture and I agree. I can't watch you play live without the experience that you have. I've seen you live on 3 occasions now, and I can't picture a September Mourning show on mass. And quite frankly, I love listening to the music, but for me, the ultimate September Mourning experience is a live show. Right.
Yeah. A lot of people think that way. But I get it. It's like, because of the way this whole thing is put together, it just would not be the same.
Can you picture yourself doing a live stream performance though, while we wait for this godforsaken virus to finally get out of our lives?
The problem with us for that is nobody lives in the same state. Everybody lives in different places around the country, so it's very hard. And then all the costuming and stuff is in Cincinnati. I'm out here. One of the guys is in Joshua Tree. Another guy is in a different part of Ohio. So it's very hard to do that. But we will be putting out more music, and we will be putting out more interesting content. So that's definitely coming. And we have dropped these NFTs, and that's something that I'm really piggybacking on now, and getting the artwork and telling a new facet of the storyline over NFTs. And that's kind of fun. So I love that.
That's awesome. And I give bands all the credit in the world and then some. I can't picture a band, I live in Manhattan, and I can't picture starting a band with people outside my borough, let alone outside my state. So
yeah, I know. It's hard. It's hard to get people on the same page.
Yeah. You need a European member to up the challenge even more.
Yep. Exactly. There you go. Get somebody from Germany. There you go.
Yeah. I already challenged a band to that, where I interviewed the one original member, and I was all right, you need a member on a different continent.
Yeah, it's actually doable nowadays because of the way everything is, but you still there's when you come together for touring, it's just you have to come together for touring. It's just a thing. So
yeah, absolutely. And do you almost feel and I believe I asked this before, but just in case, do you almost feel that when you're in the recording booth, or when you're even writing the lyrics or whatever, that you have to almost be in as much character as you do when you're on stage in a way?
No, I really focus on the emotional core of the song. I don't really feel focus on performing at all. I feel focus on just the core of the song and the emotion, and translating that through the vocal and the microphone, and through like different parts of my voice. I'm very vocal centric. Like when I'm in there, I'm just very focused on the emotional core.
Mm-hmm. Do you almost feel like when an emotional sparks a songwriting, do you almost go back into that emotional state when you play it live?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, because I'd imagine that the longer you work on something, the harder it is to kind of replicate what initially started it.
Depends on how big of a, it depends on how big of an emotional tax it was on your, on your core self. Sometimes different songs, really come from these different places in me, and some of them are really dark or really hard to deal with. So like when I play them live, it's like a release every time, which is a really great thing, and I love that feeling.
Well, I've always wondered that, and that kind of brings me into the last question. But like, when people do like, obviously, pain is the greatest paintbrush. I've said it numerous times. But some artists, I feel, and I'm not saying you do, but like some artists rely on pain. Like they only can write when they're in a dark place or in a part of their life that isn't easy. So does that sometimes make the songwriting process deteriorating? I know, like they say, creating art is a release, but sometimes relying on a negative experience could also maybe make the creative process a little deteriorating, no?
I don't think, well, it just depends. If you have to rely on everything going to shit every time you write a song, then that's just a horrible life. But
you might need to reevaluate your life altogether.
Yeah, but like Wake the Dead, for example. Wake the Dead came from looking at what was going on in the world, and it was the first political song I've ever written. I've never written anything political in my life like this, but like I had to write something that was just kind of like anti-propaganda almost, because there was just so much false narrative being written in the press and like going around, and everybody believing all this weird shit, and I'm just like, everybody just needs to like recalibrate their like thinking and like internalize and like go back to their moral instincts and like figure out shit for themselves. Like stop like relying on the press or this person or that person. Stop relying on the news to tell you what to think, and think for yourselves. And that's like what the whole song was about, is thinking for yourselves. And I was very much about that at that point when I wrote it, and I still am. I think it's very important for us to all think for ourselves and draw our own conclusions based upon that.
I've always said that all political art, whether it's visual or whether it's Rage Against the Machine or Refused or something like that, in the end, it all, like one of my favorite bands is Heaven Shall Burn, and their music is very politically driven, but it always boils down to everybody should just think for themselves, So
yeah, you've got to have your own compass, because if you don't, you're just going to always be swaying to the breeze. The breeze is going to push you somewhere. You're going to sway that way. You don't want to be that tree that just sways to the breeze. You want to plant your roots and like just stand where you want to stand, like, and move where you want to move.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, unfortunately, people don't do that in life.
And the tree eventually falls down.
Yeah, of course, because it just gets pushed too much and it falls down, or it decays or whatever. Entropy can't outrun entropy.
Exactly. Yeah. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time. It was great to be able to catch up with you. Is there just anything else with September Mourning you would like to promote, when we could be expecting the new music, and anything else that you would like to shout out or plug?
Well, Kill This Love just dropped, so everybody please go and check it out on Spotify. Stream us, put us on your playlist. That really helps us a lot. Also, I dropped an NFT collection on OpenSea, so if you're into crypto art and NFTs and cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and things like that, please check out my collection. Place a bid, and tell your friends about it. It's a really great way to tokenize art and expand generational wealth for artists, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. So please check that out too. And those links can be found in my Instagram bio under my link tree, or the band's Instagram bio under their link tree. And mine is Emily Lazar _SM. That's my Instagram tag. And the band one is September Mourning. That's their tag. And then, of course, we have the SeptemberMourning.com page, which has like all the links and stuff on it as well. So you can go there for videos, new music, the Kill This Love videos there, the Wake the Dead videos there. And we're just going to be dropping some more art. So just keep your eyes open.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody. September Mourning. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.